Hello and welcome. Students, we have a special spot for students, high school students, college, university students, those folks that are part of the educational process here at MillionDollarUniversity.com. You know, I think people are starting younger than ever to understand business ownership and entrepreneurship is a career option. You know, when I was growing up, it wasn't. When I was growing up, not that you want to hear about it, but when I was growing up, I figured, and all of us at that day and time thought, you're going to grow up, you're going to get educated, you're going to get a job, you're probably going to work in that job or the next job you get for 40 or 50 years and retire. And, well, you know, that isn't the way it's going to go for you. That isn't even the way you want it to go for you. And so here you are, a student, part of the educational process. And what I want to talk to you today about a little bit is, well, you're taking part in education, but I think that there's three key ingredients to success, to entrepreneurial success. Not only is there education, but there's preparation, perspiration, and inspiration. Right? So you're in school now. You're working hard. That's preparation. That's preparation. You're learning. You're learning how to learn. You're learning about the world. You're learning about business. You're learning about what you like. You're learning about what you don't like. It's preparation. And then there's perspiration. Well, my guess is that writing papers and studying for tests, and for those of you working hard to earn your way through school, perspiration. You know what? My life has been filled with lots of preparation and lots of perspiration. But I want to caution you. I want to talk to you just a little bit about the importance of inspiration, because I believe that our world is filled with amazing people who did a lot of preparation. Oh, I know a lot of them even. They studied hard in school. They got the good grades. They were valedictorian, salutatorian, auditorium, I don't know. But they were something big. They prepared hard. Perspiration, they worked hard. They studied hard. And yet, if you take a look at their life 20 years later or 30 years later, they've done horribly average. And so, what is it that separates those that are wildly successful from those that you do horribly average or below average? And I believe in many cases it's not just the preparation, it's not just the perspiration, it's also the inspiration. You know, the preparation and the perspiration is all about the hours, the days, the weeks, and the months, even the years of hard work. You're doing it now. Congratulations. Keep it up. But I believe for many people, there are just moments in time, 15 seconds, 15 minutes, or a few hours that change their lives forever. And so what I want to talk to you about is being aware of and constantly vigilant for the inspiration, those moments in time that could change your life forever. Let me try to tell you a few stories, and I think you'll get it. I'll tell you a story about a fellow that worked real hard for decades. Lots of preparation, lots of perspiration. He started out as a Dixie Cup salesperson back in the 40s and the 50s, selling Dixie Cups to restaurants and so forth, and spent a long time doing that. And then eventually he got a new job selling what's called Mixmaster machines. You don't know what those are anymore, you younger folk that are in school, but a Mixmaster is how they made shakes in the old days at McDonald's and Burger King and so forth. It's just a machine. In fact, I worked at McDonald's. It's a machine with 5 spindles on it, and you take the cup and you put the ingredients in it, and then you put it up on this mix master, and you turn it on, and it would shake everything up. And that's how you made a shake in the old day. You didn't just push a button and things came out of a machine. Well, anyhow, this fella, Ray Kroc, you probably don't even know that name, was a mix master sales guy. And back in the days, by the way, back in the 1950s, there weren't big chains of restaurants. There weren't big chains of hotels. There weren't big chains of anything. And the world was very different. But the freeways were coming on board, and they were starting to build interstates. And Ray Kroc sort of knew that. He sort of saw it coming. He started calling on a few of the very early franchising food companies that were out there. A&W Root Beer, hardly around anymore. Later, KFC Chicken. But one day he got an order for 8 Mixmaster machines. 8! And he thought to himself, I got to go see this little burger stand that ordered 8 Mixmaster machines. He was living in Illinois, and he drove to California, Southern California, and he parked his car about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, and he waited. And he saw what happened. All of a sudden, families and moms and dads and children started standing in line, growing long lines at this little hamburger stand in Southern California. About 2:30, when the action died down, all of his preparation and perspiration prepared him uniquely for what he saw. He went inside and he asked to meet the owners. His 2 brothers. Their names were the McDonald's brothers. They didn't even know what they had. He knew, Ray Kroc knew, and Ray Kroc agreed with the McDonald's brothers to buy the rights to their hamburger chain for $1 million. And it's Ray Kroc that moved back to Chicago, Illinois, and built the McDonald's organization that we know. But it wasn't just his preparation or perspiration that made it all happen. It was the inspiration he was prepared for at that moment in time. And that moment in time, 4 hours or 5 hours in a parking lot, changed his life forever, and probably changed how we eat in our whole world forever. Inspiration. It's so important. I'll tell you another story. Young fella, you could probably relate to this. Didn't know how he was going to pay for going to college. And had a family friend, such a good friend they even called him Uncle. Uncle Pete. And this guy, Fred, didn't know how he was going to pay for college. Went up to his Uncle Pete, who was probably the wealthiest person that he knew, a doctor of nuclear physics, and he said something like, hey, Uncle Pete, I'd like to go to college, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to pay for it. And I think he was probably hoping Uncle Pete would say, don't worry about it, Fred, I'll take care of it for you. And that's not what Uncle Pete said, though. Uncle Pete said, why don't you start your own business? And Fred said, well, 18-year-old kid, what would I do? Sounds good. And Pete was aware of a sandwich shop chain. This guy was in Connecticut, and they were in Connecticut, and he was aware of a sandwich shop chain in upstate Connecticut, and said, why don't you start making sandwiches and open a sandwich store? And kind of a obvious question was, Fred said, well, I don't have any money. How would I pay for it? And Pete said something like, well, don't worry about that. I'll make you a loan, or I'll give you some money, however it went. Now, they started a company called Doctors Associates because at some point Fred had said to Pete, I want to be a doctor just like you. That moment in time, that conversation in the backyard changed Fred's life forever. Changed Pete's too, because Pete's still a partner in this company that they started today, over 35 years ago. That conversation that was the inspiration for a company that's actually owned by a group called Doctors Associates, Inc. You've seen that name. Maybe you just don't remember. You've seen it on napkins. You've seen it on cups. You've seen it on sandwich wrappers at a restaurant chain called Subway. That's right. An afternoon picnic in a backyard at Uncle Pete's house. Dr. Pete started it all, started the Subway chain that you know and most of you probably love today. Inspiration. It was a casual conversation in a backyard. Inspiration is everything. And finally, I'll share with you my story. Greg Mazzello, founder of Proforma, $440 million network of franchise distributors of printing and promotional products. Not such a bad racket, right? $430 million in sales, 750 offices throughout North America, and expanding now with our first office in London and England. Exciting. But it didn't start that way. Started one day when I was studying accounting. I was a junior. I was studying accounting. I was doing really good at it. I became the Ernst & Ernst scholar. Back when there wasn't Ernst & Ernst, I think they're Ernst & Young today, but I became an accounting scholar. Frightening thought, but I was loving studying accounting. I did really good at it. And then I got an internship. And with a cardboard manufacturer, just a little outlying shop. Continental Can also made cardboard, right? So anyhow, we didn't make any cans at Continental Can, the division I worked for. We made cardboard. And I got an internship there, and it didn't take me long to learn I didn't like accounting. This is not good when you're a junior going on to being a senior and you're studying accounting. And I realized I don't like accounting. Basically, there's a big difference. And eventually I went on to become an auditor because it's too late, right? So I ended up becoming an auditor with what is now Deloitte & Touche, auditing General Motors, Westinghouse, American Electric Power. It was horrible. Horrible. Well, here's the difference. I love studying accounting because, like, you wake up in the morning and you have breakfast with your fraternity brothers, at least them that woke up, and then you go to class, and then you come back, and you go to the fraternity lounge, and you, like, watch the Gong Show or something, and then you go have lunch with your fraternity brothers, then you go to another class, then you come back, and maybe play wall ball with your fraternity brothers, and life is good, studying accounting. But then when I started doing accounting, it was like, ooh, sit down and shut up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you keep doing accounting stuff, sit down and shut up for 8 hours. Well, I don't know if you have any sense for who I am, but sit down and shut up for 8 hours isn't in my wheelhouse. I couldn't do it. Well, anyhow, so I was working at Continental Can, and I realized I don't think I was liking accounting, and yet there was some inspiration happening there for sure, but the thing that changed my life forever was when I had an opportunity to meet George and Dick. So at the last week of my internship, they were nice enough to say I could go spend half a day or a day with each of the functional departments in the corrugated company, in the corrugated plant. Get out of the accounting chair and go visit with some of the folk. And I got to see how they put waves in cardboard called the fluter. I got to see how they put starch in cardboard and why rats like eating it. It's kind of cool to see how they make cardboard, actually. And I got chances to meet with the designers and some of the other folks in the plant. But the day I couldn't wait for was when I got to meet George and Dick. So I'm working with George and Dick. And I'm excited to have a great day. Fun and funny and taking orders. And yet it became very apparent very quickly. George and Dick hated their jobs. I think they hated their lives. I know they hated Continental Can. And I think they even hated cardboard. So I'm 19 years old or so at the time. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you guys hate this place, you hate your lives, you hate your jobs, you hate everything about what you're doing. I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking them, why don't you leave? Here's the moment that changed my life forever. George looks at me, and I'll never forget the words he said to me. George looks at me, and he says, you don't get it at all, do you, Greg? And as he said that, he turned around and he pointed to his credenza where he had pictures of his family. And he said, you don't get it at all, do you, Greg? We have families. We have house payments. We have car payments. We have school payments. We have orthodontist payments. We're not going anywhere. Ooh, we're not going anywhere. I think people say that when they're checking in to San Quentin prison, right? We're not going anywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, as a 19-year-old fellow, I don't want to be in my mid-30s or 40s hating my job, hating my life, hating my career, and hating the company I work at. And I thought to myself, I think I do want to own my own business. I always had that thought in my mind, probably like most of you. I always thought that would be cool. I just didn't know how you would do it or where you would do it or how. Didn't have any clue about it. But I knew that day I was going to figure it out. I didn't have any clue what business it would be, but the inspiration of that moment in time told me I need to find a business that I can start and not be stuck in corporate America when I'm 35 or 45 and have wives and children and a wife and children, house payments. But I needed to find some business I could start when I was young, when I wasn't married, when I didn't have children, when I could eat Campbell's soup for a year and not involve a family and all of that. And I was dedicated from that day on to finding the right business. And it just so happened I had a roommate from college, and he was working for a small distributor of printing and promotional items, and it ended up he hated his boss. And so we were roommates together in an apartment after we graduated, and we'd go out on Friday nights looking for dates for Saturday night at bars and so forth, dance clubs or whatever, and we'd always talk about our careers. And it didn't take us long to figure out, well, this business could be started for minimal money because we're distributors, right? In our business, we're distributors of printing and promotional products. We don't have to own a retail store. We don't own printing equipment. We don't have employees. It's easy, really. There's virtually no cost. We go out and make the sales. We find suppliers that print the stuff up for us and send it to our customers. And so he put in $100. I put in $100, and we started this company called Proforma. But the inspirational moment was realizing I needed to have my antennas up. I needed to find the right business when I was young, and so it was that inspiration that helped me to see when I was having those conversations with my former partner that I eventually started this company with, that I needed to find the right opportunity. And so in those conversations, I didn't just listen to him complain about his career and his boss. I listened to him tell me what the opportunity might be for us, and I took that away from the conversation. And so, thank you for joining us here at MillionDollarUniversity.com. You're getting a great education no matter where you are. I can tell because you're listening to this video. You're interested in finding the right path for you to create wealth for yourself, for your future family, and for your future legacy. Good for you. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. But don't ever forget, education is important for sure. Dedication is important. Preparation is important. Perspiration is important. But I'm going to encourage you now to keep your eyes open for those inspirational moments that could be the moments that change your life and maybe change this world forever. Thank you for joining us at MillionDollarUniversity.com. We make millionaires. Perhaps you're next.